welcome to the 2015 Delhi Election Tracker, a special India Hangout series along with C Voter and Yashwant Deshmukh joining me right now. The big question we're asking today is something that applies not just to Delhi but elections across the board. Will the rich and poor, or do the rich and poor work alike and vote alike, or think alike, more importantly? The reason we are asking this question is, of course, there has been a lot of apprehension or questions raised about the way in which voters will swing, particularly after the way Delhi's political history has shaped up in the recent past. So we're trying to understand now from data and polls across demographics. That's 4 demographics: below poverty line, lower income group, middle income group and higher income group, asking them a series of questions and trying to gauge what their responses are depending on where they come from, and to see whether those answers indeed differ. So Yashwant, this is a very interesting poll. I mean, a poll in the sense the composition of this poll is very interesting. What we normally look at is the aggregate. We say, okay, 42% want Kejriwal to win, 46% think Rahul Gandhi will win, 42% think Modi will win or Modi's representative will win, and so on. But once you break it up, the answers get really fascinating. And tell us, why did you think of this sort of approach to doing a poll to start with?
Well, routinely the Indian media is always keen to analyze all this data in terms of religion and the caste equations. But I think that the data reveals a lot more than what just the religion and the caste lines say, and this is why, especially in a city like Delhi, which is a metropolitan town, and where the caste and religious lines often get blurred in terms of classes, economic classes. So that's why we decided to see if we can get anything substantial, a finding in terms of socio-economic classifications, and this is what we got, and it is substantial. We believe that that Delhi is saying a lot in terms of socio-economic numbers, rather than just talking about the caste and religion numbers in their voting sense. A couple of days back, we did discuss the change of the voting composition as far as the Congress and Aam Aadmi Party and the BJP are concerned. So BJP's composition has largely remained the same socio-economically, but we tried to discuss a few days back that the composition of Aam Aadmi Party's votes, which was a year back largely into the middle class, has changed to the low income group, and this is where we wanted to check whether or not this is happening. That was an hypothesis, and this is the evidence, clear evidence of how the things are changing in Delhi.
Right. So let's go look at the first chart carefully, Yashwant, which is who will win the Delhi elections, where we are basically giving 3 options: Arvind Kejriwal, Narendra Modi, as you can see on the screen, and Rahul Gandhi. Now, very clearly, all 3 classes, at least 2 classes, that's BPL and low income group, clearly seem to prefer Arvind Kejriwal. The middle income group, the middle class and the higher income group clearly seems to prefer Narendra Modi. So is this in some sense a continuation of an old theme, or are you seeing something new?
No, this is entirely new, because if you take the same numbers from the 1 year back, when we are talking about the last year's assembly election, at that point of time, Arvind Kejriwal's lead was largely into the middle class section, and BJP was into middle and the upper income group, and Congress was having a substantial lead in the BPL and the low income group. What we are changing is seeing the change is that the Congress lead in the BPL, below the poverty line, and the low income group, that has shifted towards the Aam Aadmi Party or Arvind Kejriwal now, and the lead of Aam Aadmi Party in the middle class has shifted to the BJP. So this is precisely the movement that I have been talking about in terms of socio-economic movement of the socio-economic terms of votes. Now the below the poverty line votes from the Congress have moved to the Aam Aadmi Party. The low income group vote from the Congress have moved to Aam Aadmi Party. The middle class vote has moved from the Aam Aadmi Party to the BJP, and so is the case of the high income group. So from BPL to low and from middle to high, that's the spectrum.
Right. So the sort of obvious question that follows, and there's a question from Ratan Kaul as well. He says, are there any estimates about the strength of voters from these classes in Delhi today?
Well, yes, there are different estimates, government and non-government both. But yes, certainly the low-income group votes are quite large in Delhi. Surprisingly, we treat Delhi as a metropolitan, but you would be surprised to know that even from the NCAER data, big number of people who are living in the slums, in the unorganized colonies, the sectors which are almost half of Delhi, I would say. So if you will say, if you treat Delhi as one big town, and if you want to see what is the low income group, middle income group, high income group, right, I would say 50% of Delhi is almost about the BPL and the low income group, 40% into middle class and 10% into the high income.
Right. So therefore, if you're saying, 73% of the below poverty line respondents are rooting for Kejriwal, and half of all low-income group respondents are rooting for Kejriwal, the overall proportion seems to then go above 50% in favor of Kejriwal. Am I right?
In the below the poverty line, certainly yes.
No, I'm saying the overall. If I look at the overall impact,
is coming from. No, it cannot be overall 50% plus, because if you look at very closely, it's almost every third voter in the low income group is also supporting Narendra Modi.
Right.
So it's not 100% sweep as such, But yes, the huge lead in the BPL family line, 73%, is extremely important for the from the Aam Aadmi perspective, and the huge lead of the middle class for Narendra Modi, that is extremely important from BJP's perspective. So I would rather say that the low income group and the high income group might negate each other, but actually it would be the turnout and the movement of the BPL voters and the middle income group voters that will decide the fate of this election.
Right. Okay. So let's go to the next question, Yashwant. So this is very straightforward. It says, were you happy with Kejriwal's first term in office? So here again, 80% of below poverty line respondents support, say yes to Kejriwal, 71%, and then it keeps dropping. So 70% LIG, 60% MIG, 44%, and no, it sort of almost rises in the converse direction. 16% with BPL going up to 55%, so on. So this clearly indicates that, I mean, in some ways flowing from the first, that the people who are below poverty line, as evidenced in this sample, are clearly okay with Kejriwal. I mean, and his rule, though it's now a long while ago.
Yes, but the surprise here is the middle income group as well, where 60% of the middle classes say that they were satisfied with Kejriwal as well. Right. So what I would say that even though that BJP manages to get more votes among the middle class, the Kejriwal factor is equally important as far as the middle income group vote is concerned. They might be pro BJP at the moment. They are not anti Kejriwal at the moment as well in that way. 60% is a quite substantial number. So these are the areas where Kejriwal is trying to score much. But as interestingly, I say there is a potential of Kejriwal's growth into middle income group right now. In next few questions, you will also see an opening for the BJP in the BPL families as well. It's a very fascinating set of data, and it all depends on the campaign. What kind of campaign which party plays in the next few weeks, and what kind of turnout in these different income groups we watch on the election day, that will decide the outcome of the election.
Right. Okay. So now let's go to the next one. Here the question is very simple. It says, should the BJP declare a CM candidate? And this is something that we've been discussing, Yashwant. Though of course, since our last discussion, and now you've had the Prime Minister holding a large rally, or some say large rally, in New Delhi since then. So here it seems to be somewhat even balanced, except that the middle classes are clearly saying that they want to see a candidate from the BJP. The lower income group is also 60% is saying that they want to see one, and 50% of the below poverty line says no, and the others are all in the 30 to 25%, which is the no. but the yeses seem to be high, and particularly high amongst the lower income group. What can one take away from this?
The middle class. Certainly the core vote that BJP wants to see is saying into the maximum hill that they would love to see a BJP CM candidate. So what the BJP core base is, they are hoping for a CM face to be projected. At the same time, there is a consistently quite a big number across the board which says that it would be helpful if BJP puts up a CM face. Even among the BPL families, where you have seen earlier that almost 70% of them were queuing for Arvind Kejriwal, but even over there, more than 40% are willing to look at the BJP CM candidate. So, largely speaking, I would say the trend same continues, but the yearning for having a CM face is maximum among the same vote bank, which is likely to vote for the BJP right now.
Okay, so which brings us to the next question, which is that can Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister, be the face of the BJP in this poll? Again, most below poverty line respondents are saying yes, and so are a lot of the higher income group respondents, 81%, whereas only a sort of under 30% or about 30%, depending on the section, are saying no, as you can see on your screen there. So, what do we take away from this?
Typical smiley kind of a graph, as you say, where the low poverty, the numbers are maximum in the highest and the lowest of the income groups. And this is where the opening is. I feel that on the question of the Modi, the BPL voters, the way they are showing the positivity, as I mentioned in the previous question, there is an opening for Arvind Kejriwal in the middle class groups, and then there is an opening for Narendra Modi in the BPL groups. These questions are showing amazingly fascinating information, which are the core groups and which are the probable groups. So we have seen the core groups, and now we are looking at the probability of these two groups, core groups, a section of them also opening up to the idea of Arvind Kejriwal and Narendra Modi. So there is an option, there is a probability of Arvind Kejriwal making a dent in the middle class vote, and there is a probability of Narendra Modi hitting it in the BPL vote. It totally depends on what kind of campaign these two gentlemen run from here onward, and what kind of campaign their parties take on, what kind of pitch is there, and what kind of issues they pick it up.
Right. Okay. So let's jump a little bit, Yashwant, to the one which I think many people would be interested in knowing. Which of the following is the biggest issue this time in Delhi elections? Right. So we are asking about stable government, development, as you can see, inflation, corruption, electricity, water, and others. And this is quite interesting because according to this, corruption continues to be one of the biggest issues faced by those below poverty line, and the middle class clearly seem to think inflation is the biggest issue. So, I mean, and the higher income group are sort of more focused. I mean, proportionately seem to be most focused on development. So, is this again, Yashwant? This is very interesting, but. What does this tell us about the non-BPL? I mean, we'll come to the BPL in a second, but but what about the non-BPL ones? I mean, are they in some ways voting? I mean, or indicating preferences along the lines that they've always have?
Well, it's pretty much on the priorities, very much based on the priorities of different socioeconomic groups. Those who are well-to-do, they are more focused not on the day-to-day problems of their life, but more on the development of city of Delhi as a world-class city. But at the moment you see the drop in the income groups, you see the middle class largely focusing on the inflation, which is the important issue for them. And probably because the inflation has gone down, this might be the reason that the middle classes have ballooned support for Modi and BJP. But the issues of the low income group remain largely into Bijli Sadak Pani on one end for the low income group, and the corruption, the petty day-to-day corruption is hitting big time for the BPL families. And this is where Kejriwal is scoring high, because this is the section which faces probably the day-to-day life corruption, and that too in terms of things which are in the hand of the MCD, which is being run by the Delhi in Delhi by the BJP. All three MCDs are being run by the BJP. So the corruption issue of day-to-day petty corruption, that is hitting hard for the BPL families, and Kejriwal is clearly scoring over there. The moment you go up and you talk about the inflation and you talk about the development, the income groups change, and that is where Modi and the BJP graph goes up. So this all data is so in sync with the not only with the issues but their selection of the leaders and their opinion on different angles. This shows and reaffirms the lines where the voting trend as on today is looking like, from the spectrum of BPL to the high income group, from Aam Aadmi Party to the BJP.
Yeah, only one question, Yashwant. So, I would have thought that, while corruption is high, and I guess emotively that does hit people more, electricity and water would be a key issue, and that's the reason why we saw those promises for free electricity and so on for the BPL, and yet that's not showing up as high. Is that because it's not high today, or is it because corruption has once again become bigger?
No, it only a question of the priorities, as I would say. That if I have to pick up the top of the mind recall issue, as on today, if I am a BPL family, then that's how it goes up. If I ask for the second issue after this particular one, I'm sure that the electricity and water comes up big time. That's why the ranking is number 1, number 2, and number 3. So for the BPL family, the corruption is number 1, and electricity water is number 2. And for the low income group, it's the electricity water number 1, corruption number 2. For the middle income group, it is the inflation number 1 and corruption number 2. For the high income group, it is the development number 1. So these are the priorities which are coming up in the same line. And electricity water, certainly it's a big issue, and especially when you go to the lower sections or economic sections of the society. And primarily this is why in yesterday's rally, probably Modi actually mentioned so many times about the electricity and the other issues. So the priorities are clear, so are the campaign issues are clear, and so are the campaign momentum is clear. This is where you can expect Modi and Kejriwal to hit out on the agendas, hit out on the issues and the priorities of different groups.
Come to that big question of who will be the preferred CM or the best CM for Delhi in a while. Sticking to this chart, Yashwant, conversely, right? So when the poll asks about development, it's interesting that only 3% of the poorest proportionately want development, and 33% of the well-to-do want development. So does it actually suggest what it seems to suggest, that the poor really don't care about development because they want a lot of here and now issues solved first?
Well, it depends on what kind of development we are looking at. Let's accept that the Delhi infrastructure is already actually the best in the country at the moment, I would say. So those who are coming from the countryside, those who are coming from the remote areas for an earning to go look for a livelihood in Delhi, for them that part of the thing is already better than from wheresoever they are coming from, that part of society. So they don't feel like that Delhi is not developed. They certainly feel like Delhi is developed. What they are looking forward is that whether or not they can get a proper meter in their juggi, whether or not they can get a tapping water in juggi, and whether or not if the day-to-day system, I would say, which comes and troubles them for their unauthorized colony, for their unauthorized placement of livelihood. Many of these are khomchawalas and other smaller entrepreneurs who are setting up small shops and running their own earning their own livelihood. So that's why their focus is not development, because Delhi for them is already developed. But for the higher income group, they look out for Delhi for the next step. They don't wish to look out for Delhi to be stopping over here. They want this continuation of the process. They want Delhi to be looked down like a Singapore or Hong Kong or Dubai. But right now they feel like much more can be achieved in Delhi, which is not yet achieved. So the priorities are different.
Right. So, and if some of you have been watching the chart carefully, it might be a little difficult because the numbers are small, but it's interesting, which is in some ways a very interesting. It's actually a counterfactual of some sort. Stable government. Only 1% of below poverty line respondents care about it. 1.4%, and the maximum only goes up to 4.8%, and the average is 3.7%. Yashwant, this also actually seems to tell me that people don't care whether there is a government or not, or whether it's stable or not.
Well, this might have a lot to do with the fact that Delhi is not prone to see any loose government or unstable government or the coalition government. The advent of Aam Aadmi Party and the so-called hung assembly last year was an aberration, I would say. For since the Delhi was formed, the first election in 1993 till this last year, Delhi has had a very stable, clear-cut majority governments. So this was not really the problem, I would say, for the Delhi people to start with. And this is why Delhi is quite polarized right now, and it seems like whomsoever will be winning and getting a clear number. They are not really thinking in terms of stability as an issue right now in Delhi. I don't know how justified that is, keeping in mind that that the Aam Aadmi Party or the BJP did not get a majority, and the Congress support to Aam Aadmi Party was not really an thing taken for granted. But that's how the Delhi is feeling right now, and the issue raised up by Mrs. Sheila Dikshit that Congress would be again supporting Aam Aadmi Party if they are lacking numbers. Probably is trying to erase that issue that, okay, if BJP doesn't get the majority, then there would be Aam Aadmi Party and the Congress coalition government. So this is probably why the issue is not striking much among the Delhi electorate.
Okay, and the last and final question, Yashwant, who will prove to be the best chief minister for Delhi? And this is fascinating. You've got Kejriwal sort of ruling high across the board, and you've got Sheila Dikshit also ruling high. And of course Harshvardhan, who may or may not be a candidate, holding and mostly at second position. But the surprise seems to be Sheila Dikshit, who still has more recall amongst potential voters than perhaps others do. Yashwant?
Yeah, that's not an aberration, I would say, because she if you look at the spectrum, she gains higher numbers in the BPL, I mean the low income group, lowest of the poorest of the poor, and where the Congress score is, and she gets some numbers in the high income group as well, where the developmental agenda is picking up and where the 15 years of her government have a proven track record. What I also find interesting is that Kejriwal is scoring not only high in the BPL but scoring equally high in the middle income group, where the BJP support base is coming from.
Right.
And I think the numbers of Harshvardhan in the middle income group is quite interesting for everybody to observe, because not even in the race, not even declared CM candidate by the BJP, he is still maintaining quite a high big number among the MIGs, the middle income groups. So this is probably somewhere BJP should be thinking that if given a chance, if he is given a chance, he would probably increase that support of middle class for the BJP. And let's not forget, Govind, that last year in 2013 December assembly elections, he was given only about a week's time when he was declared the CM candidate. And though that assembly election result, everybody talks about the Aam Aadmi Party and Arvind Kejriwal, let's not forget the fact that Dr. Harshvardhan as the CM candidate got more votes and more seats than Aam Aadmi Party and Arvind Kejriwal.
Right.
So we sometimes oversimplify the things, and we try to we kind of forget the facts, what the actual results were. So Dr. Harshvardhan still remains the best bet for the BJP, and keeping in mind that he got more votes and more seats than Kejriwal in last assembly elections, I think it would have been better for BJP to go with some name like Harshvardhan into the campaign. but they have chosen not to. So it has become a contest directly between Kejriwal and Narendra Modi, and that's where it's a CM versus PM kind of contest. BJP has got its own sound logics that they did not declare any CM candidate in the last four election, and in all four states of Maharashtra, Jharkhand, and in Haryana, they have got their own majority government and own government with their own CM. In Jammu and Kashmir, they did exceptionally well and swept the Jammu region. So the momentum in these elections were because of the name of Narendra Modi, and they are hoping to do the same in the assembly elections in Delhi. And today there is one more important development because the show is going to be on air today. We have had the results of Delhi Cantonment Board, where the BJP has won 5 out of 8, Congress 2, and Aam Aadmi Party 1. And let's not forget that in that, though this is not a very generic result, I would say that is applicable on Delhi. But what makes this result interesting is that Delhi Cantonment Assembly seat has a Aam Aadmi Party MLA, and that too a very celebrated MLA, Surinder Commando. So if a seat where Aam Aadmi Party MLA is there, and they actually dropped down to the 3rd position in the Delhi Cantonment Board elections, that doesn't argue well. Because then we are also looking at the probability of one more factor which we have been overlooking till now in Delhi, in terms of Delhi election, that is the anti-incumbency at the micro level. That is the anti-incumbency working against the sitting MLAs. So even though Aam Aadmi Party and the BJP are taking a bipolar one-on-one head-on fight, there is going to be a number of sitting MLAs who might not be doing that well, and that could upset the equations or calculations on both the ends.
Right. Okay, Yashwant. So just I mean, we shouldn't sort of go away without at least referring to Congress and their likelihood for these elections. So we did talk about Sheila Dikshit, but the only other potential candidate, which is Arvinder Singh Lovely, has almost no recall according to this poll, Yashwant. So what does this mean for the Congress? I mean, he is at the highest recall amongst high income group is 5.3% according to this, 4.5% and 0% at the lower income group.
Yeah, well, there is one more name I would say, that is the name of Ajay Makan. Even though in this particular table the numbers don't show well for him, but in that way. But the moment you pull out the name of Mrs. Sheila Dikshit, that support base of Mrs. Sheila Dikshit actually converges fully into favor of Ajay Makan. Okay. That doesn't go towards Arvinder Singh Lovely. Right. So if Congress declares the name of Ajay Makan, I would say that would be a very strong face for the campaign, and the goodwill that has been Sheila Dikshit's name has been carrying with her is likely to go in favor of Ajay Makan in that case, and that would become a very interesting election. Right. Congress is seen out of the race primarily because when we talk about the leadership of Arvind Kejriwal, Narendra Modi and Rahul Gandhi in comparison, at that point of time, Congress goes absolutely out of contest as the data shows us. But if we are talking about 3 definitive candidates of Arvind Kejriwal, Harshvardhan and Ajay Makan, or Arvind Kejriwal, Ajay Makan and no face from the BJP, then I think Congress campaign, which is a non-starter at the moment, I would say, that will gain some kind of movement, and at least they would be in race. Right now it looks like they are absolutely out of race.
Right, and that's a good point. Ajay Makan, of course, is a very well-known face in Delhi. I think I recall meeting him or interviewing him once when he was Power Minister, if I remember correctly. And a fairly solid next generation face and presence for Congress if they were to stand. So, Yashwant, we've run out of time, but a last word. I mean, I think what can we take away from this? I mean, this is a fascinating study. It's a new way, it's not a new way, but it's surely a different way of looking at the same election data that we're used to. And we here are obviously going to do more of this and give you the insights about what truly will determine the fate of this election. Yashwant, over to you.
I think this entire data set of cross-sectioning on the economic scale, from the below poverty line to the high income group, we have seen the scale from Aam Aadmi Party to the BJP. Though it looks like polarizing in that favor, but the same data says data set also opens up the probability of Kejriwal hitting with the campaign in the middle class, and Modi hitting with his campaign in the BPL and the low income group. So what in the next over the next few weeks, we are absolutely certain to see a campaign from these two gentlemen, which would be taking the fight in each other's camp. So you can expect Narendra Modi to come up with a campaign and the BJP to come up with the campaign and the schemes and assurances and the things they promise, which would be very much appealing to the low income group. And you can see Arvind Kejriwal really campaigning high pitch and Aam Aadmi Party taking the battle right into the middle class vote bank. They are going to attack each other's stuff. Let's see what happens, but next few weeks are going to be very interesting, and we'll keep a track of these development, and we'll try to figure out if there are any things that are changing on the ground. This is the baseline that we have predicted as of
absolutely today. And this was only done on the 7th of January, very recently, and we're going to keep updating and bring you this far more sort of insightful anecdotes and data, which will help you understand which way things could move and why they move when they do, and not just in Delhi for that matter, which might determine how things go, but also how elections move across the country as well in this very complex country called India. Thanks for watching. We'll be back on Thursday, same time.